Hello. Welcome to Old Gray Bricks Thursday Night Live. We are here to talk about Lego and things and LegoMasters and things. And that's right. Left turn, shake and bake. Here we go. We're talking about some NASCAR business on LegoMasters tonight. Some of our other friends will be joining us as we go along.
Shake and bake. That just happened.
I turned the music off. I thought I did. All right, there we go. All right, we're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Stever is here, Moto is here, and other friends are joining us. All right, you've already pulled it up, and I'll let you go ahead. The status quo does not change. However, the Canadian domination continues. 75% of the cast is Canadian, and I have nothing against Canadians. But as for many Americans,
Facebook though,
do what?
That's because of Facebook.
But yeah, that's right. Facebook. I love Canadians. I am not advocating for war or slapping or kidnapping any Canadians at the moment. But you know, as the other recruitment goes on, and knowing that some of us have in this room tried out for LegoMasters multiple years and stuff like that. There's plenty of Canadians. I would love a Canadian LegoMasters. Let's just say that.
Yep.
And some more of us good old-fashioned Americans could have made it on the show. However, you're thumping us right now, so whatever.
Yeah. Well, you know, we did it back in World War, or in World War, in the War 1812. We might as well do it again now, right?
I think certain individuals have been protected a couple of times on the lost end of things.
Like Nick and Stacy, because they've been surviving the bottom like the past 5 episodes.
Little mic drop from
Canadians and LegoMasters. We don't need more.
That's right. We don't need more Canadians. That's right.
We have way too many.
Too many.
Hey, we got Canadians everywhere. There we go.
Hey, Ben. And for the record, there was technically a NASCAR Lego set.
What?
I'm sharing it. It's a Lego Grand Opening Concord Mills in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a NASCAR. It was labeled as NASCAR.
Does it officially have the logo on it though?
No, it does not. It was it's one of those store builds, right? So,
right. Was it called a NASCAR car, or is that just the nomenclature people stuck to it?
It's brick set, so it's whatever they stuck to it. But
I got you. So, because I know for a fact that NASCAR had a Lego building or a brick building license, I think with Connects.
Oh, okay.
And so that was interesting. So that was part of the show, was that we had the NASCAR advertising on there. It would be cool. I hope Greg maybe pops in here in a little bit to tell us about the shot with the car coming in. I'm sure it was not, they probably drug it in there. But it looked like they actually did do a pit change, which was kind of neat. Always neat to see. And it was an unofficial. That was an unofficial model.
Yeah.
Official. So that was cool. And William Byron was the driver. He's the driver of the 24, and so is Jeff Gordon. He retired from the 24. Then Chase Elliott was in the 24 for a little bit, and then William Byron has driven in it since 2018. Yes, I know some NASCAR. Oh, it's Steven. Hello, Steven. How are you?
How's it going? I don't know any NASCAR.
Me neither. I didn't even know there's a track in Georgia.
You live closer to Atlanta Motor Speedway than I do. So
I know about that. That thing is it's hopping. They're always doing something there.
Yeah, they are. And that was cool. Now have been a NASCAR fan. I don't follow it very much now, but it was kind of cool to see them in Atlanta Motor Speedway, which was cool. Seeing Jeff Gordon, was cool. He drove the 24, like I said, until 2015. Then Chase Elliott was in the car for a couple of, and then William Byron is also in the 24 car now and currently. So that was pretty neat, that continuity there. I don't think they cared about that. That was cool. William Byron, from what I understand, is a pretty stand-up guy, pretty neat guy. And Jeff Gordon is, if Matt was here to talk about it, Matt was like, who's Jeff Jordan? He doesn't, I don't know if he was kidding in our little texting or if he was poking the bear or if he literally is like, I don't know who Jeff Gordon is, but Matt's not here to defend himself, so we can make fun of him now. But Yeah. We're gonna get there.
Well,
We're
we'll
gonna
get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. So, but anyway, so cool NASCAR promo. NASCAR is half the season is played on Fox, so Fox Sports probably paid in a good bit of money for the advertising. But Lego does not have an official NASCAR set, and I'm pretty sure this is not going to set the pace for them to do that. NASCAR, when it comes to the public, whatever, has lost its luster a little bit. Although it'd be cool. They've done some NASCAR-ish looking cars. However, all right,
the sets will all look the same car, just different color.
that's right.
Well,
Exactly right.
rules are rules. You can't just have a bunch of different types of cars on there. They all have to follow a similar. It's based on the performance of the crew and how fast the driver is, and blah blah blah. So,
yeah, well, there's small differences now, but for a while the stock car went from, history of NASCAR used to be that the car was basically what you bought off the shop, souped up and running a race, and then sales went up for whoever manufacturer won the race. Now, when they went to cars, and especially the car of the future or whatever it is now, they're all standard except for a few bumper modifications and engines. And then, it's basically up to the driver, the crew, and stuff to get speed and everything.
Are the shells all the same as well? Or is there like a Ford shell and a Chev shell, but they're the same underbody?
For a while there were none. Now they've gone back to little differences. So certain bumpers have different shape and airflow is a little bit different. Okay. So you can't just like nose to tail on certain cars and create speed because there's differences, all that kind of stuff. It's not as exciting as it used to be. Someone say it never was, but I get that too. But I will also say this flip side of that. If you actually never seen a NASCAR car or a group of cars going around the track, it is darned impressive in person. It's loud and noisy and awesome. And they are going at 200 plus miles an hour or 180, whatever. And and I've been up against the fence as the car is going by, that's darn cool. I'm just going to say it is super darn cool. No matter how many left turns they take. So I like it. So I was enthused at that part of the show. I don't know about you guys. Did you like the NASCAR angle, or was it like, oh, whatever?
Oh, Will Arnett almost threw up.
I mean, I enjoyed it. That was pretty funny. I felt, especially when he had his big earmuffs on, like he was really feeling right at home up there on the balcony. That was very entertaining. I like the NASCAR aspect. The race looked really fun, but I don't know much about NASCAR to speak of. I only know a few little things about. I like cars, but I'm not into the race scene as much. But my uncle is. Like, he is a diehard NASCAR fan. He would have absolutely freaked out if he saw this episode. I'd have to show him one of these days. He is obsessed with NASCAR. He's got all the signed license plates and stuff anyway. But yeah, he's crazy. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I felt like there was a little less emphasis on the builds, though. The challenge really took front and center stage, which looked really fun. I'm not gonna lie. This is one I didn't feel any anxiety. I'm like, oh, I want to do this. This looks like fun, I want to be behind that wheel with Brennan and Emily somewhere. That looks like fun. But yeah, I felt like it was maybe took up a little too much room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get to that when we show the builds and everything, which they're too. And so
we'll get more next week.
Yeah. So to start the episode off, let's go back. NASCAR can be a technical thing. There's a lot of technical things you do to build a car, and would the episode have done better if there had been some technical challenges, build some gearing and build some, because that's what NASCAR a lot is about. You got the engineering aspect of it, and they didn't use that at all. Would that have helped the episode?
They were electric vehicles, so
it's not like
you could do much.
Yeah, it was just aesthetics. Make the aesthetics of it and make sure it doesn't break. Right. Then again, if I recall, there's only maybe not even half a dozen drivable Lego things in existence, so it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So I think it's a smart choice for this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you think it was like, okay, so we did the remote control cars last year. How can we make that bigger and better? And they did so. The electric cars?
Oh, I really think so. I think they took notes from the demo derby, which was very fun. It's a very enjoyable episode for people. I think they one-upped it really well to actually get to ride the Lego cars. So it actually looked like they were in a Lego vehicle too. They really did a good job, the teams. of covering everything, making it look like a Lego piece. You know, all you could see was the wheels for most of the cars.
Why did they
So yeah,
have-
I think. Oh, what's that?
Sorry, I was gonna say, why did they have 2 teams instead of 4 teams do it though? You know what I
I'll
mean? Like,
bet. What's up, Adam? I'll bet it had to do with. I'll tell you. They wanted probably enough time to actually in the work week, to actually build and then film it, because I'm sure they spent a lot of time building that track, and then getting everybody ready, and then getting the jumpsuits, and then the driving itself, and then re-explaining maybe any more rules or whatever. So I'll bet they kept it with that 9-hour thing, which is that's lower. That's on the lower end of things. 9 hours is a shorter one. 8 is like the lowest they've gone, I think. So I think that's a huge plus. That way they can have a very large model, one of the biggest ones they've made so far, sort of, as far as sheer size. And they didn't get burned out too quickly. They actually had 4 people working on it, which has not been done yet. So we've had team ups where they're on the same side, but they're building on one half of it. Like you had there was an episode 1 from season 1. Sorry, a season 1 episode where 2 teams had to build in the same table, sort of, and they built half of it. And then for us, we built the puppets, but never building on the exact same model. And I thought that looked really fun. I always thought about that with our season. But I'm glad that they got to throw that in there.
Well, and it looked like they had 3 because Arnett was riding around on one of them and everything. So
it could just be the studio size too. They just didn't have the room to make the track wide enough to have multiple cars on there.
Yeah,
but
it might have been cool if they'd have done this early in the season, so even they paired up 6 teams. Let that be the episode where they're not sending anybody home for fun. One more team on the course might have been fun. So.
Possibly. It looked like there was enough room in that pit area for 3 teams.
Well, there were 2 pits also.
It's
There's one on each side.
Yeah, I'm
of the whole season. No.
I agree. I agree with Adam 100%.
Do tell.
It was just kind of like number one, I don't feel that it showcased people's building skills very well at all. And then they, sort of like the actual racing thing was just a gimmick.
Yeah.
That also, again, didn't showcase anybody's building skills at all. They drove around in a circle and built little wheels. Like it didn't. What was that? It was a gimmick. It was just sort of a stunt promotion for something else on Fox TV that really wasn't what LegoMasters is about. And then at the end of it, nobody went home. Nothing happened. So it felt like a throwaway episode.
Yeah, I bet for you though, Steven, you're like, because I think we all figured out no one was going home when they started the episode. So everybody was probably on the show. They probably knew it too, or at least they felt it, I guess. I don't know. But they seemed more relaxed and everything. The stakes were lower. And so, and I bet for you, Steven, you're like, oh, these guys are not as much stressed out as somebody's thinking of their life's about to get chopped off or whatever. So that made for some lighter moments, I think, in the show. However, for us, we're like, well, dang, that was just an hour. I could have watched The Masked Singer, I guess. I don't know.
Masked Singer. Oh, I'm on the wrong live stream. So yeah, there's the Masked Singer live stream. I get it. I get what you guys are saying. Like you didn't get to see a lot of the build itself.
Yeah. To
be fair, though, they were pretty cool. I mean, those are large models. You don't.
No. I agree.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree though. It's funny. Throughout the episode, I didn't know that there was an episode after this, and then we do the finale. That's 13 episodes. That's new to me. So I thought that someone was going home for sure. I'm like, how in the world are they going to judge this? Like, who do you send home? It was a team effort. Like, what do you do? So that one took me by surprise because I just didn't know. But yeah, I think they may have assumed that nothing was going to happen. But I doubt they would have told them. I think they would have wanted genuine, like, oh no, we're going home faces. I know that that's very important to the studio. They want the authenticity of it. They really do what they can for that.
You have to wonder what they were told. Obviously, we don't know what the brief was, right? So we don't know what they were. Was there going to be individual things that they had to point out that you did? Was this good or bad? Who knows what they were told? But what were some of the things that the teams were told on TV? They were told to build something strong because it had to go around and around. That ended up not mattering. It had to look good. That mattered for halfway through it. And then there was the pit road thing, which we don't even know really what happened there. They had to rebuild something or recover something. So yeah.
Each team, I think, had 2 tires, and they needed to swap the color. They needed to swap the color from black to their home team colors, blue or red, which is kind of a fun take on the pit stop, I guess. And I think works as a good equalizer because those cars are pretty much the same speed. There's only slight difference with the people riding them. But frankly, I thought hats off to Greg and Nick because those two, like, flew through their tire. I was genuinely impressed when that happened. That was exciting. It's like Luigi when he throws up the tires in cars and he goes and helps Lightning McQueen. Spits off. It was that exactly. Like, it looked just like that.
That's right.
This hits home for me, that challenge. I know it is a bit of a throwy episode, but I had a lot of pedal cars when I was a kid. And that was super fun for me. And I always wanted a motorized one. We never got one. We had some nice pedal, not a motorized one though. So this was kind of like seeing my dream come true a little bit as a kid. Like, ooh, it's Lego themed too. So yeah, I do get it though. It is like no one goes home, nothing happens. It does feel they didn't tell the audience about the pit stop right before the race. Great idea, but it should have been included in the edit earlier. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So I mean, the with all the talk of aesthetics, which got you a little advantage, and I get that. And then all of a sudden, basically, it was whoever picked the smallest driver with the least amount of weight, and then was able to rebuild something that was not even something they created to win. Just seems, I mean, to me,
that's a little funny, right?
That was way too funny.
Yeah.
Unless there was more to it, and we just don't know. And not that shenanigans happen on the show or anything. So, but anyway, all right. So let's just look at the builds, and we have 2 of them. So we have build number 1. Do what?
I said I don't know if we have the time for that.
Right.
Oh, did you guys do the candidate chart? I mean, we already kind of
yeah. Still 75%. Still 75%. All right. So there's number 1, and let's go ahead and let's look at number 2 real quick. Number 2, and no one went home. Good night, everybody. Okay.
I mean, there's something we could talk about, right? There's something here.
That is something.
Right,
I'll say that.
Yeah. All right. So the 2 builds, I mean, I'll just go ahead and say the little carts are kind of goofy with the little dinky wheels and everything. And there were 2 strategies. One was, for real. One was these guys look like just built top up brick for the most part. And then the blue car was Technic paneled and everything. All right. So number 1, I guess we need to discuss which car looked the best. What do you think?
So I like I kind of go for bricks over plates just generally. Plates have always, like, if you don't do it right, it doesn't quite work out. So the sculpting is all really classy on this one. It really does hold up. The back, I think, is correct. Maybe a few little like old Cadillac tail fins on the back would have looked pretty cool.
Oh, that would have been
cool. That would have been really nice touch. It does kind of look like a fire truck a little bit. Little fire truck inspiration going on here. I mean, I'm not surprised at all, but
even though it was Canadian flag inspired.
Yeah,
but
you don't say.
That's what it looks like, by the way.
Yeah, you don't say, right? I
will be waving over our LegoMaster trophy soon, I'm afraid, but go ahead.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I think it looks really good. I think it's fun. It looks like a Hot Wheels, like a classical vintage Hot Wheels car right here, something like that.
Their sponsor decals look good, as people are saying in the chat. Their sponsor decals are nice and nicely rendered, I guess.
Yeah, the 67 looked really good because they had the 2 tones of teal, the blue that gave it some 3D effect. That was really, really neat. I don't know if it'll show up, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I give them that. That's really good.
Yeah, it's not every day you see mosaics and sculpting like in the same package. You usually don't see that. So.
Personally, I like this one a lot better because it's brick built. I mean, it made it heavier, but I think because they had a light driver, they could go that way and be safe-ish. Although I wonder if that hurt them in the end, anyhow. But
maybe.
I mean, I like this better than the boxy look of the other one. Honestly, this is just a little bit more curvy.
There was something about the front of the red one I didn't like. I mean, they were talking about the curve, but it sticks out way beyond the wheel in the front.
Yeah,
and it looks
like this fender thing.
Yeah, it looked goofy to me, and I think that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I'll bet that's there because the front has that little bar at the front, that bumper, and there's bricks on top of that. They probably, if they had left that open, the judges probably would have hit them.
Yeah, they might have had it. You have to cover all the brick, all the exposed.
Which was probably a nightmare, by the way. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, but then, blue team, which I kind of like blue team. I like the lightning. I like the. This is like a soapbox derby car, and I like it. But I wonder, there was the issue. I don't know how real it was or not, of them damaging the car and basically damaging whatever was glued on for them to build studs on. I wonder what damage that. I really wish I knew what damage that was and what effect that had on their build. Do you think that was serious, or do you think that was just a bit?
I think that was a bit. If I know LegoMasters, I'd say that was definitely just for fun. That they just added there just as little like, oh, there's damages. What's going to happen? Any little extra thing that they can throw in there just for interest, they'll do it. So I'll bet that it wasn't nearly as bad as they said.
So I'm wondering if they should have had studs, like if there should have been studs between the seat and the pedals, like that bar that you see there that's exposed. The other guys had completely covered that up, right? Like that area. So if they had done that pure brick all the way across, because I think the car actually hit on the side of like when they hit the accident, I think it hit the side almost. Like the tray hit the side of the car.
Maybe. I think it was a front collision.
But was it? Okay.
I think so.
I don't know. I just I think it was probably open so that Greg could get his knees in there, or
I'll bet that's it. Greg's a pretty big. Brendan's a pretty big guy. Yeah. I've seen them both in person. They're pretty large fellas. I'll bet that was there so he could get his feet in there.
Yeah,
it is possible for sure. And they put Emily. Now, hats off to the red team. They put Emily in the car and built around her a little bit.
That was cool.
Awesome.
That's smart.
Yeah, that was fun. That's Steve. Right? That's it. And I think that's why I like this one better.
Yeah.
The one thing about the shots on this car, it was you never really saw that front grille that they built in there very much, and I think it looked neat. But they never really showed the front of that car because it's angled back. It's got headlights, kind of, like a DeLorean or something going on there, and it looks kind of neat. So
I have to say though, I'm getting lawnmower vibes, and they race lawnmowers, but I'm getting slight lawnmower vibes with this one. It looks like a little John Deere. I'm sorry. I like it a lot, but the front just looks like a lawnmower. I'm sorry.
I get it. It is squarish, and so I get the
thing.
But the 90s thing, they went for 90s. Did they pull that off?
Kind of, a little bit, sort of. I like the Easter eggs they also have. They've got Greg and Brendan's orange spaceship on the side here, and a couple others in the cassette. But I'm not quite. I'm also sort of 90s myself. I'm not really getting it.
They should have gone with a Blockbuster logo or something on the side. That would have been 90s.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah,
that would have been funny.
I do the theme though.
Props for the spoiler, the little Sandlin extenders popping off the back there, all that kind of stuff.
A spoiler on red car would have been pretty cool.
There was one, but it was right down below. It was on the back by the seat.
Oh, where you couldn't see it.
Yeah, you couldn't see it. They hadn't raised it up.
It was very low. But also, angles have a thing to it. If you do this from a lower angle looking up at it, it might look better. I don't know, and everything. So and they left a lot more room for the car, for the wheel to steer and all that kind of stuff. All right, so I think I still like the blue one better. I guess maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I will say about these cars, Yes, very, very early. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, fair
I
enough.
was going to
I
comment.
was born in '95, so I just remember the end of the '90s, just barely, and I was in the early.
I was going to say this car. It still looks young to me because this looks to me like people who were kids in the '90s and they think of like Saved by the Bell as '90s. When I was in college and I was listening to grunge and like wearing flannel in the '90s. But this looks like people who were kids in the '90s, not people who lived in the '90s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have to say though about these cars, I guarantee they had 2 speeds because at first they were going really slow and very like underwhelming, and then the last half they were going much faster. I'll bet these had 2 speeds and they could control them remotely. I guarantee that. They did have that for our RC cars. I don't know if it's the same brand or whatever, but I think they wanted to pad out the runtime of the actual race, but I don't know. I think both cars, for what they are, look really good. Although it's a risk for these lightning bolts here. Those could have fallen off pretty easily. So.
What gets what gets me though is the race. Like at the beginning of the race, Emily pulled away. She lapped him basically, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, when they both left almost at the exact same time, she did not really gain on him the way she had taken off the first time. So
I mean, she was behind him, but she couldn't get around him.
No, but not even that. I don't think she was able. Like she wasn't getting closer to him. Like it just seemed like they were equal distance apart most of the second half.
Did notice that.
It kind of irked me because she didn't really have the opportunity to even try and get close to him. Like you figure if there were shenanigans or if not, but you figure they'd want her to try and pass more often than not, right? Like you want to have a little bit of action going on versus, oh look, she's still behind. Oh look, she's still behind, right? Like
maybe I'm not sure. I don't have enough info to say.
So maybe there was more of a deal. Like it's all gonna even out when you get in. You'll get a little head start into building the tire, but whatever was going on in the pit stop, that was actually that was going to be the winning move. When you got out, you were going to win. I mean, yes, you could, but when you're behind like that in a race, you have to start and stop to try to find a spot to get around. And if you can't, you're not going to be able to gain or pass. Because she was able to be on his bumper, quote unquote, but not able to get around.
There should have been some brick smashing. Is what I'm saying.
Well, there you go. There's the Mario Kart thing. What if you could throw like a blue shell out of the thing, or
some power ups,
a weapon, or
banana
peels or something,
or some rubbin, because rubbin is racing.
Rubbin is racing. And speaking of that,
come on,
they said to make them strong and tough. And the red, back to the red one lost half of its rear end without being touched.
I think
that seems to me to be a major foul, right?
I think that what happened, if you look at the track, it's at least an inch or two, maybe even more. I'm not sure.
Like raised, you mean?
Yeah, the actual this light gray or this dark bluish gray track here, and then you have the black mat down here. I'll bet she was on the outside, and I think she actually one wheel went off and on really quickly, and then it jerked it off enough. I think because she was really close to the edge when that came off. So.
Yeah.
So it probably something to do with that.
Because the track wasn't wide enough to pass. Like that's the other thing. The track was not wide enough.
Correct. Yeah. Well, you had to let somebody get, if you're up front like that, you can hold the middle of the line. I mean, you're not really having to worry about losing grip or anything and that thing going that fast. So it wasn't wide enough for you to really to pass. So obviously whatever happened in the pit was the winning move of the game. But see, that seems disingenuous. That has nothing to do with the challenge of what they built. And it looked like with the red team, like Crash was not even building on that. I don't understand what happened there. So
I think they were hamming it up because either they knew they weren't going home anyhow, or it was just like, oh, hey, maybe we'll do this because that's kind of funny, or maybe the producers told them,
maybe
like.
I don't know.
Like maybe they said only 2 people can build the wheels,
but all 3 of blue team was.
Well, yeah, but they didn't. Maybe they didn't say the third couldn't help out. Like she was giving them bricks to, like
it looked like she was physically build it. Yeah,
she was taking stuff out of the bin and handing it to them. Where the other team, I think they just had everything on the table.
Yeah, I
Right?
think they just organized it better. I'll bet that, you know what, Jeff, I think you're onto something. I think they said that only 2 people can actually build the tires, but the third person can either help the driver or help whatever. And they were allowed that. Share their cars.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll bet they had a second gear, and I think they turned it on for the second part of the race because that's what they did for our Derby. They actually sped it up partway through, and that's one of the reasons Caleb and Jacob went off the table because they weren't used to such a fast car. They freaked out. So again, that wasn't sabotage. It wasn't faked. I don't know how much of it is staged these days. Like, this isn't my season. I can't comment for sure, but I do know the basic trend is that they don't like to stage stuff just as much as humanly possible. They do like to make sure that there is an organic flow to the challenge. This could be different. It's a new season. It could, maybe they're like throwing a few little conditionings here and there, or I don't want to say shenanigans. It's possible, but I don't know. It's hard to say. Oh, that's getting too popular these days. That clip is too popular nowadays.
We're gonna have to take that away from Chris.
I know it's fun.
One of these days.
I can throw this one up there, and he's mad about it. No.
Shenanigans.
I love how he holds the gun. That's so funny.
I have to say, I haven't seen that movie. What movie is that?
Is that
Super Troopers?
Troopers.
Okay.
That's why I haven't
It
seen
is a
that
funny movie, though. Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's not great for the family, but it is.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously, no one went home. No one was in danger of going home. Even in a team challenge like this, how would you? I mean, let's just say they were going to send someone home. How are they going to do that? How are they going to figure that out?
There was no way.
I mean, yeah, I can't figure that out unless they were threatening to send 2 teams home and have 2 in the final.
No, there's no way they do that.
2 episodes. Like, as soon as we realized a couple of weeks ago that there were 2 episodes, like there's 3 in total. So as soon as I saw it,
forgot.
yesterday morning, I think I was flipping through Instagram and I saw that there was a red team and a blue team, and I'm like, oh, so no one's going home. I already, before the episode even started, I saw that, right? It's like, okay, this is just a throwaway episode. Like, maybe the throwaway episode isn't the best term because it's, it's still entertainment, but it's not changing anything in the long run because it's too late to add a golden brick or anything like that. So
no, they're not doing that.
Now, would this have been the castle episode for y'all? Down to 4
Technically,
teams?
yes. This is actually more of the puppet show. Where not really. No, we had 6 teams then.
Like the third last episode, I'll see what it was.
That would have been the house challenge, if I recall.
Flip My Block, yeah.
That's the one.
Monster
Flip My
House.
Block.
Yeah.
We made a
Castle
monster house, ski resort, carnival, pig, or flying pig, and that nobody went home on that episode either. They didn't tell us that though. They did not say anything about nobody's going home. I have to say though, when I watch Australia, we talk about Australia a lot on this show. I actually don't necessarily mind the episodes where people don't go home. Yeah, this is a non-elimination challenge, and they'll just tell you straight up, and they'll say like, nobody's going home. You might get an advantage for next episode. Blah blah blah. And then they just build, and they usually have a great time, and they enjoy it. It does let you hang out with the teams more. It has a few. Yeah, their stakes are lower, and it does feel. What's up? It does feel like. What was the point? If nobody goes home, nothing changes. That being said, if you watch Australia a lot, you start to enjoy those episodes.
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I didn't find the combination of what they were doing and no one going home. It just didn't really make sense. Like it literally wasn't like they need, in order to have a proper race, you need more than 2 cars.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I'll give you that one for sure. Yeah, I think they could have done it with 3 cars. It would have been really fun. And there's enough room on this pit area. Like I said, you go back to those pictures, you can clearly see there's enough room for 3 cars. So I think that one's on them. Yeah.
Or, I mean, what if, it would have even made more sense to have the 4 teams more time and the 4 teams, build this, or have another challenge, knock a team out and do this with 3 teams doing 3 cars.
Yeah. Earlier in the season.
Something like that. I don't know.
Or four teams, but maybe have like round robin races or something. You know, 2 against 2 or 3, and then I don't know. There's ways that you can do it, right? Like
that would have taken a long time to film.
yeah, for
I'm
sure,
pretty sure.
for sure. But it would have made it a little more interesting. Maybe not.
This was probably the easiest one for the studio to pull off reasonably. I'm sure maybe more cars. There is a lot of safety I can imagine them going through, like driving around. Like you would not believe how heavily regulated that is. Like not just driving, but a studio like that, you have to sign. So it's crazy. They there's a lot of red tape and all that. So maybe it was just simpler to have 2 cars, and it was just less of a headache for the people who were running it. Mount points for 3. That's right. They had Will Arnett's car.
Yeah,
He was driving around his own car.
We were kind of talking a couple episodes ago. It seemed
Maybe
like
they were going to have 3.
Maybe they pulled that audible to not send somebody home. Whatever 3 or 4 episodes back, and we called shenanigans. I'm not hitting the button. They called shenanigans on. We kind of called shenanigans on that. That they were like
when there were 6 teams, right? There was a no go home, right?
What
challenge was that?
Hold on, I got 7, which was
solving the case.
The camp
Greg's team and Nick's team were the bottom 2 that week.
Which one?
They didn't send any of them home.
Click a Brick, the camp one.
Yeah, the camp one, which remember was kind of all over the place. What were they actually judging for? What was going on? So it seems like they had the audible that they could pull. No one's going home, and they pulled it. And now that's kind of shifted everything on this. I don't know. I mean, I can't say.
That was
interesting.
That was the only one where Brandon and Greg were at risk through the whole season.
Yeah.
So, and Nick and Stacy were as well, right?
Yeah, Nick and Stacy more than Greg and Brandon, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. But
yeah, a little bit. I would say that it's probably the first draft. This episode was supposed to be earlier. I'll bet that the first draft, because again, the track that would have been made long before the show, and that would have been available for more than 2 cars. Maybe this was drafted for earlier, and they just last minute for some odd reason said, "No, we're going to shove it to the very end, or third to last." So it could have been that. Maybe we're seeing a watered down version of what this episode could have been.
So I'm looking at a point in the season where there were 6 teams, which was episode 9, which was the wrecking ball to the castle wall. So it could have even been that they switched those around as well because they didn't want the castle to be near the end like it was last year, right?
Maybe
because that was the third last episode for you guys.
Second to last, but close enough. Yeah, second to last. But it would have been technically, yeah, that's really close. Maybe it's too close for comfort.
I don't know.
Maybe there was some higher up decisions here. I feel like maybe we did see a watered down version of what we could have seen for this episode. Maybe it could have been even greater, maybe even better.
Yeah, but they still only had 2 pit stops, though. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm not hitting the shenanigans button. I'm not doing it. So,
but yeah, if they had 6 teams total, lawyers probably killed the original.
Could have been dangerous.
It could happen.
Now, what they should have done is load them in trucks going all the way down to Atlanta Motor Speedway. There's a smaller speedway for things, and put them out there, man, and done it for real. That's what they should have done.
That would have been awesome. Oh, that would have been awesome. Go to a new location.
Then there would have been room to pass too.
There you go. Right.
That would have been. Take notes, LegoMasters. That would have been very cool.
I'm just thinking too, because Emily was behind, she might not have had full throttle, like the ability to go full throttle because she couldn't get past him. Right.
Yeah.
So she might have had to be just laying off the pedal, and maybe they were saying don't bump and stuff either. Like, who knows?
Well, maybe they were told, your car's got to stay intact, so you don't. I mean, okay, in NASCAR, rubbing is racing, but in F1, if you touch somebody dies, right? So those cars fall apart, and somebody gets a tire to the face, and somebody dies. So there were more F1 rules there. Let's just say they did collide. Who do you think would have sustained the most damage?
Probably Greg and Brendan's with the plates, but I'm not sure.
Because it looked like their shell wasn't necessarily attached by much. Like if they used, because they had a lot of Technic ribbing coming up, so I'm assuming they were using those few points on the body to connect as well.
Yeah, they went with weight saving as much as they could.
Well, they had to.
Yeah, they had to with their driver. I still wonder why they didn't put their Stacy.
Yeah.
Why didn't they put her in the car unless she was like, I can't drive this thing or whatever? So
maybe that she. I think she wouldn't want to race against Emily. I know the two of them are really good friends in real life. She probably just didn't want to. Also, have you ever gone go-karting? It's actually terrifying. You know, it's something else. So it's not for everybody. So maybe it's just too much pressure. I don't know. And probably Brendan just really wanted to do it. No one wanted to argue with him.
I have a feeling that go-karting when we were kids is probably different than go-karting when you were a kid.
I can imagine.
Ours was probably a lot more dangerous than yours was.
Fair
Definitely
enough.
more nauseous.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have known then, but yeah, when I did it, it's quite terrifying. I've done it once or twice. It's, you know.
Did I just pull a "when I was your age" comment?
You did.
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Congratulations, old man.
You've made it.
When you said you were born in '95, and I'm like, I was in grade 10. Like,
there you go. Yeah.
No
I
way.
think that the weight
called.
difference. So I think the weight difference would have been slightly nullified because there's a clear speed difference between laps 5 and laps 10. I think that if they up the power, I think it nullified the weight a little bit. Maybe. It seemed to kind of equalize it to the point where they're going about the same speed. That's the way I'm coming from it, I guess. Like if they make something faster, they let it produce more horsepower, I guess you could say, then the weight is thrown off a bit. I don't know. That's just my guess because there was clearly a speed difference between.
Well, could it have been like, you know, in the shake challenges and stuff? Okay, the first you're on level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that's because they've been told to build strong. And then they're like the second half, it's going to be like your build is going to get shaken more and more. You're going to get faster at the end.
That's a good point.
Fall apart, you lose. But we didn't hear. I mean, that didn't seem to be a major factor.
That would test the strength of the car even more. That would put it to even more of a test. That you know what? That's pretty good. That could very easily be a thing.
And and then obviously the red car had a problem, shedding a fender and all that kind of stuff. But all this is in the wash because it didn't matter. Nobody went home, and it would not have been fair if somebody had gone home in that episode. No. The only thing they really could have said is, let's look about your past performance, and that doesn't play in it as much. I think it does.
Not until the finale, really. Doesn't really make much of a difference.
Anyway. All right. So what is the next challenge? What did they advertise was next?
Fountains.
Oh yeah, the fountains.
They got to build fountains
with water hoses.
I am so glad I'm not in season 3. That looks hard. What do you do to carry the water? Lego's not airtight. Not even a little bit, but not really.
More importantly, it's not watertight.
No.
So, I'm curious. Are they actually going to have to use Lego as piping, or are they going to?
No, there's
pipe.
They show a garden hose or whatever going through the structure. Like in the last or one of the last scenes they show, they've got a flamingo, and the hose is going up through the neck, and the hose and basically the neck snaps, and it's just kind of dangling because it's still attached to the hose, but they've lost the connection point. So.
Well, that can be. I'll say. Well, I built a tower with electric in it, and I had what I would consider a flimsy power cord kind of thing. But you have that running lateral, putting some pressure on some bricks. It will pull up a bunch of bricks, just that little bit of force, and then you got water rushing through it.
Fill it with water, make it heavy.
That's weight and pressure and force. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah. This is the new castle challenge, and this is going to blow it out of the water. No pun intended.
Because come on, the pun has to be intended for it.
All right, it's intended. I only know of one mock in existence that has like running waterfalls, fountains that I know of in recent memory. Sean Mayo built one. He built a terrarium that had a bunch of waterfalls, but he had to use tinfoil. He had to use tinfoil underneath the bricks to keep it from leaking and stuff like that. So I'm really curious what in the world they're gonna do just to keep it from just spilling out everywhere. Like, this is going to be crazy, and by now they're exhausted. I can guarantee by now they're super tired. This is probably an easier challenge because they had everybody working on it. But now they're going to be tired.
How much of a slippage factor is there on that floor? You've been on that floor.
You could break an ankle. Like, that's One of our teammates did. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's nightmare fuel for me. I cannot imagine how hard that's going to be.
The bonus of having 3 Canadian teams, though, they're used to slipping and sliding on ice, so might have an advantage there.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
I don't
your
think there's much ice in
Canadian
Texas.
team slipped all the way off the course and broke their car, by the way. So don't be too
They're used to
braggadocious.
snow tires. That's why. So.
All right. So we got plenty of time. Let's talk about prediction. Who do you think is the final 3? Let's just talk about that. I know what Canadian boy is going to say, but
No, you don't.
Final 3, huh?
Yeah, let's say who do you think is going to be the final 3?
Early predictions. Interesting.
Early
I don't normally give early predictions. I think Dave and Emily are gonna leave before.
Okay.
I'm just thinking it. Which is funny because I don't have. It's all because of that preview. There was he's like, oh no, it's gonna break, and they saw some pretty serious breakage for their model.
They throw audience every single time.
throw that in for fun a lot. They do amp it up. They turn up to 11, with stuff like that. I don't know. I think though for raw brain power, raw willpower, I think Stacey and Emily are a little bit on the lower end of it though, because I really like their builds.
The girls are dumb. Because you said Stacey.
No, I'm talking about. All right, let's talk about willpower. The tenacity. I'm missing the tenacity. I see it in Steven. I see it in Greg and Brennan. I also see it in Dave and Emily a little bit, but I don't see it in Nick and Stacey. I don't see the tenacity. What I mean by brain power, I mean like mind over matter. Like I don't care if I'm suffering, I want to go through this. I don't see that tenacity in them just enough because you have to really, you got to chop at the bit. So I'm missing that with them. If they pull it off, then I'll be surprised. I'll be pleasantly surprised. They've done good stuff. But I see tenacity in some people, and that's the thing I'm looking at. Maybe too much. I don't know. But that's just that's where I'm coming from. I think Steven and Steven are going to be in there for sure, though. They've been very steady. So.
Yeah, they've got. Obviously, physically, they've got stamina, probably more than anybody that's been on the show. They're firefighters. They've got a lot of just physical stamina, and honestly, their building has impressed me more than I thought it was going to. So they've been able to pull that stuff off and everything.
They're also trained to live with less sleep because if they're on call with the firefighter, they could be waking up on weird hours. So maybe that lack of sleep could also help them out. So I'm assuming you're pretty exhausted through that show. Like you're not sleeping full nights.
Oh, yeah.
At all.
No. Not until Saturday and Sunday. So. Yeah, the hours are absolutely off the chain. I've heard they were a little better on season 3, but not by too much. And I can see Steven and Steven getting to the finale just because they have the durability as a team to actually get there. And I like their builds. I don't think they've had hardly any stinkers of any kind. I don't even remember them being in the bottom 2, frankly. I think they've been a really consistent team, but I wonder if they can push that over the edge. That's the hard one. Greg and Brendan, a bit of a wild card, bit of a Caleb and Jacob going on here. They've had some really good builds. They've had some builds that not quite there occasionally, but generally some really good stuff from them. So I think they're pretty safe in the top 3. I'll just say that. But the other two, that's a coin toss for me.
All right, Mark, who do you think is going home? Who do you think who's your 3 in the end?
I guess I kind of agree with what Steven was saying because the Stevens do seem like they're really just they've been good, strong builders, but yeah, they seem like they're hanging in there really well. But I don't know. I mean, because Nick and Stacey have been at the bottom a couple of times, and if they stumble a little bit, they might end up finding themselves going home.
But they've also won more times than Dave and Emily have.
Has Dave and Emily won a challenge yet?
Yeah, no. they haven't.
They have not.
They came in second place for it here. I'll share this because I've got the.
I've got the chart on. You got the thing on Wikipedia or whatever.
That surprises me a little bit. I thought they won at least one.
I don't know because I mean the last episode where nobody went home was also the episode where it really looked like Nick and Stacey were going to go home, and that episode smelled funny to me.
Yep, that's what we're talking about before. Yeah. But now I will say Nick and Stacy were my two, because we picked 2 finalists early. Nick and Stacy were one, and Brendan and Greg were my other ones. But I know Brendan and Greg, they've been through Iron Builder challenges. It's interesting because Mark and Steven, y'all went through Iron Builder and stuff on Flickr,
We had one.
right?
We did one.
And so did Tyler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so did
it
Brendan.
Prepares you for a lot. Iron Builder really gets you in the mindset of
That's
LegoMasters.
right. So there's that. It's kind of funny to see that skill set thing going on with you guys. And I think, my opinion is Brendan and Greg have this. I think this is theirs to win. But that skill set from the old Flickr days running Iron Builder, which still I guess goes on.
It's going.
Yeah. So there's the training ground for the championship. If that happens this season, then
it might get you in the top 3. Let's just say that. It's hard. We did it when we were younger, and we were getting up early in the morning and stuff, and building a bunch of stuff. So yeah,
I mean, if you look at the stats that are in the chart right here, Nick and Stacy are the weakest of the 4 remaining teams, based on stats, based on how many risks they've had and all that.
Oh snap! 4 in a row.
Yeah. So
I mean, Dave and Emily had 4 where they were second. And Steven and Steven have been very strong, and Brendan and Greg have been very strong. So I don't know. It really depends on this fountain thing next week. Might be one of those challenges that if a team has something that falls apart, like they were hinting at, that might be the deciding factor.
And what sucks about that is I don't think that's a fair thing to do. Absolutely. When you're down to that few, like it shouldn't be based on the whims of water or hoses or stuff. It should be a building challenge, straight out. Like castle on side of mountain, on side of walls. That's still a building challenge. Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's still fair play. But when you're putting in stuff that isn't Lego based, like hoses and water, I don't know. That to me sounds a little not a good challenge to have in the final 4.
You're not alone on that opinion there, Jeff. A lot of people criticize the exploding challenges. So it's too much variable, too much gambling, too much randomness thrown into it for it to be viable as a challenge. A lot of people have criticized it. So you're not alone on that, and I get the criticisms.
Well, that's the thing for your episode, Mark and Steven, when they did the explosion, and your fig fell over just because one random brick come shooting out and knocked him over?
Actually, nothing touched him. It was probably, we put ours on the platform. Everyone else was up in the air. Everybody else's was up higher up, and ours was touching the wood, and it probably vibrated him off. So,
irregardless, whatever happened, that could have been something they said, oh, your fig didn't go, you're going home, over some minor technicality, even though you guys won the thing. So that's not a Lego skill to control to win the game. I'm glad that didn't ding y'all because you deserve to win.
I didn't win the explosion challenge.
But what if you'd have gotten eliminated because of it?
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if just because your fig fell over because of some random, molecule movement, so I don't think that's fair to judge a Lego building competition by. So I agree with the hose thing too. So
and the second last episode is going to be, build around like a Brother P touch or something, probably, or something stupid like that.
That was the most random thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's what I had on my desk. I'm like, random thing. But I don't know. Like garden hose. I mean, I get the intent. I think it'll look cool. They probably did it at this phase because that's a lot of water to have on stage. So only have 4 teams doing it versus 6 or 12 or whatever. But at the same time, it's just, I don't know. It's, to me, that just isn't fair when you get down to that few teams. Because at this point, it is now who's got the best skills, not who can figure out how to hold a hose the best way, which does not sound right.
Right. Well, and I will say of the teams, I think, in my opinion, I think maybe because they focused on Emily a lot in the last thing, I think Dave and Emily are going home. I just have that. I have that sense of
possible.
That's just me. Because I know how Nick can build. Obviously I don't know how Stacy can build. Nick's a good builder, and I don't think we've really seen things that can showcase his building skill or his type of building skill and everything. So maybe this will be something he'll shine at. I don't know. But my money's on Brendan and I think my top two will be Steven and Brendan and Greg, though.
I think so too.
I'd agree with that.
That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what the finale builds are going to look like, and if they're going to have a twist. So for us, we had lights. Throw in some lights. Whoever does lights, we'll give you a little bonus points for that. I'm really curious if they're going to just do a build whatever you want, or they're going to give them any kind of prompt. I'm really curious. Like, I don't know. The finales that always interests me the most for whatever reason. So I'm really curious what the builds are going to look like, where they're going to go. So I don't know. I'm already excited for that, even though we still have an episode to go. So
right. All right, Jeff. What are your top three? I don't think we heard yours.
I'm the same with Brandon and Greg and Steven. Brandon, Greg, Steven, and Steven. While I don't want to see Nick go home personally because I know him, they performance-wise, they've been in the lowest group for a while, and I don't know that Nick's really built anything massively huge.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. As well. Like I'm trying to think back of what I've seen Nick build, and I know on his Twitch channel and stuff, he's building a lot of smaller things usually. Like he's a good builder of smaller objects that are cool, things like that. And say, like, I don't know Stacy at all for what she builds. And Dave and Emily work well together, and they have built some amazing stuff. So I don't know that chemistry. They're going to go home. Even if they have been focusing on Emily a lot, as you were saying, I don't know really what that, like, I didn't really notice that personally, but I mean, I think she just, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted. I was going to say, I think it's because they were probably the most entertaining this time around. Yeah, because Stacy just great moment after great moment. I'm sorry, not Stacy. Emily, great moment after great moment. So.
Yeah, they're very funny people, and like just a lot of short comments going on. And in this last episode, she was obviously going to be the one to beat, obviously, right? Because she is so small or so tiny that she had the advantage of being such lightweight and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, put a garden hose into this, and Brandon and Greg could go home easily enough as well if something doesn't go right.
It's totally possible,
and that's where, I mean, I think we've seen that in the past seasons as well. That someone got let go that everybody didn't think was proper because of the challenge itself.
And hey, right? Steven and Steven firefighters, they deal with hoses all the time. So big advantage, I guess, to them.
They're going to know exactly what they're doing.
Have they ever built a fire hose into their mock, though? Probably not. And thankfully, this is not fire hose.
Most likely not.
Do you think, I mean, honestly, do you think in the brief for the thing is like you cannot make somebody peeing in a pool? Because that would be my first thing. Have a bunch of little dudes peeing in a pool. That would be hilarious, right? And they probably were like, you can't do that. So
yeah. So this is also an Avatar Way of Water advertisement, right?
It needs all the advertising you can get.
No, because this should have aired 8 months ago.
Oh, jeez.
I would have loved to have seen them make the that underwater challenge from Australia, where you put the model, submerge it. Mm-hmm. Everyone loves that episode. There's no one who's got complaints about that one. That one was just so cool. Yeah. And everyone had phenomenal
prep for that.
What's that?
Did y'all think about and prep for that for your season? You're like, what if they do this? What will we do?
Mark had actually practiced a bit for that. He built some stuff that went in fish tanks in the Lego store. So he's like, "Ooh, I hope they do an underwater challenge. I got this." And then it doesn't come. He's like, for crying out loud. So.
Oh no! They came to Atlanta Brick Co. and go, "Oh, we can't do that."
Can't do this. No, we thought about it, but I think now would be a good time for them to use it. That'd be a fun challenge here at the end. But
no, I think that to me that's an okay challenge. The whole environment changes for everybody the same way. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, we'll see though. We'll see what this new one is like.
Well, that'll be interesting. So that airs Wednesday. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I believe it's a two-parter.
Yeah,
so they're playing the whole thing. We're watching the end of LegoMasters next Wednesday for 2 hours, right?
Yes,
I guess so.
Yeah, the Masked Singer is done too, isn't it?
Hallelujah.
I think, from what I've heard. So, I mean,
I gotta get off this and get on the Masked Singer stream in just a second. But yeah.
I'm just checking that if the times are listed here. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock and 9:45, so 9 and 10 on the page I have for
That's
their
exciting.
airing times. So it is starting at the regular time. So that means there'll be nobody watching my stream next Wednesday, but that's okay.
I have your
Sorry, Jeff.
screen up a lot. Thank you very much.
No, but I'm saying like during Lego Masters.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know why, but okay.
Sorry,
I'll
Jeff.
usually say hello and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So
And then you fall asleep.
all right. All right. So that's be it. We'll have a messy Monday on Monday. We hope you join us for that. And then we will talk about the finale next week on our Thursday Night Live. Thank y'all for being here, everybody. Thank you, Stephen, for your insights. The Canadian fan and Mark and I are here hanging out with y'all. So have a great night, everybody. Be awesome and build awesome. Good night.